The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group and senior editor of AutoFin Journal and Subprime Auto Finance News. In today's webinar, from first search to final sale, understanding today's car buying journey, we're going to learn more from Jordan Reed and Haley Sontag of Podium. But before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. Please make sure you've dialed in using the phone number provided in your communication email, or you're able to listen via your PC speakers. We are recording today's webinar and we'll make the recording available to you as soon as possible. You will be in listen-only mode for this webinar, but we will reserve some time after the presentation for a Q&A session. You can submit your questions at any time through the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And if we aren't able to get to your question today, don't worry, because we'll forward it on to the team at Podium so they can respond back to you directly via email. And finally, if you have any difficulty during today's webinar, please click on the hand icon to alert a member of our team. So with plenty of knowledge and recommendations to share, let's get right to Jordan and Haley for today's webinar. The floor is now yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nick. We are really excited to be here today and talk about the modern customer journey and specifically how that has changed in the automotive industry. Like Nick said, I'm Haley. I'm here with Jordan. Jordan is the head of sales over auto here at Podium, and I am a marketing specialist. So we're excited to be here with you, and we're going to talk about how the customer journey has changed and specifically the role that technology has played in that. We'll also give some tips of what your dealership can do at each stage of the journey to adapt to the customers.
All right. Well, look, I think it's safe to say we all want to understand, what our customers are feeling, right? And the best way to do that is really to jump in their shoes. And so to fully understand this customer's journey, that's what we'll be talking about today, right? What are they seeing and what are the changes? So, when you actually get in the customer's shoes, it really helps you with insights. So there's a few things to look for there that you can learn, from trying to see it from their point of view. One is, can customers even find you online, right? The other would be, are you making it easier for customers to connect, chat, or ask questions? And then lastly, are you creating long-lasting, trustworthy customer relationships? So in answering each question, you really can address the customer pain points as a team, and then, in turn, you create a better customer, experience. So first, we'll talk about what the customer journey used to be, right? We all know it's changed considerably. It used to be, a customer would go into 4 or 5 different dealerships before they made a call. Now it's somewhere just right around one dealership. So we're dealing with quite a more educated buyer. So the process was obviously quite a bit more simple back then. If I needed a new car, I'd simply go to the dealership that's either closest to me or maybe one that my family or friend would recommend. Once I go to the dealership, I'm hoping that I have a good experience. And then the next time I need a car, well, the convenient thing is obviously just to go back to that same person, right, or that same dealership, if I already know I'm having a good experience. And now the big difference obviously is technology, right? For better or worse, it's changed it considerably. So, the customer journey, it's really impacted, by how the customers interact with your business and how the business interacts back. Look, even my parents that are in their mid 60s, sometimes I'll call my dad and he'll text me back and say, hey, I saw you called, what's going on, right? That is the way that we communicate now. And what we really want to do is make it so, you guys can communicate with your customers the same ways you do with your, personal contacts. And that's all done via messaging. And so, phones are practically pocket-sized computers. You can search anything immediately, anything you want at any time. And, the surge in near me searches, best dealership near me, that's proof, right? So we want immediate solutions. We want them now. And really one of the biggest changes we've seen with this customer journey is that customers are valuing convenience over loyalty. And that's something that's, pretty big that we should look into and think about. And I'm sure everyone has, but, in every industry, it's the same thing. What used to be all about, let's take medical sales, right? It was all about that relationship. And really at the end of the day, now it's different. It's all about, are you convenient? Sometimes people will even pay a premium. And that's the same in the car industry as well.
And it's interesting to see, some people think that messaging is only geared toward the younger generations, but that's not true. It's universal across all age groups. My grandma was actually telling me the other day, she's almost 90 years old, and she was saying she was so happy because she finally completely disconnected her landline so that nobody can call her anymore. And I asked her why, and she said, 1, I'm just getting robocalls. And 2, if anyone actually knows me, they'll know to not call me because she's somewhat hard of hearing. And so even though she's in an older generation, she prefers text messaging over phone calls. So it's not just the younger generation.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, that is the world we live in now, right? So in order to adapt to the changing, way of doing business, and really, make it so that modern customer has what they need. Local businesses really need to use technology to their advantage. And obviously, you're all on top of that. And that's why one of the reasons you're on a call like this, right? Looking for tools and all that to better the experience. Digital tools like Facebook, chatbot or website leads, the lead forms, those are a really good start. But there are other tools that can help connect the online and offline experiences as well. So today's customer journey, it's been altered quite a bit by, different technologies. That's ranging from phones, search engines, and basically everything in between. So consequently, the customers expect a lot more from businesses, right? Again, get into the customer's shoes. Think about you, whether it's, reaching out to a cable company or anyone else for that matter, right? You expect more, you expect results quickly, and specifically you expect transparency. Right? And that comes with basically you're making it more convenient, giving them immediate access, and you're really focusing on efficient interactions. Okay, so long gone are the days where people want to call in and sit on hold forever and be transferred all over. And again, that's just, if you look at your own experience, that's how you feel.
And especially in an industry like automotive where people are making a very large purchase, making it convenient and transparent, giving them the information that they need is huge. So it's really important.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of go through each of these stages and what your businesses can do, in each stage to adapt. And the journey really starts with the customer searching on their channel of choice. We've seen most times it's Google, but whatever the customer's choices, you see 82% of smartphone users will find local businesses through their search engine of choice. It's all about convenience. And the important thing with this is, a life event happens that facilitates the search, the search like a need for a new car. If they need a new car, they search dealerships near me. And this has created what Google calls micro moments. And that just means that a customer knows what they want and they want to purchase. They have this intent to buy, but they just need to be connected with the right business. And that's why being where your customers are, like showing up for the Google Map Pack and having good reviews, is so important. Your customers are looking for a dealership and they won't get your business, or you won't get their business if they can't find you. So we'll go through each of these 3 things, kind of show what you can do. So claiming your business is the first step. It's really free, or it's free and it's really easy. It's something that your business can do today on Google, Bing. Create your social media profiles and any industry specific directories. Just claim your business to tell people that you're there. And something to look for when creating or updating your listings is to make sure that your name, address, and phone number, which is also known as the NAP, the NAP, that they exactly match on each directory profile, as well as your website header and footer. So that way Google and other search engines will know that the listings are the same business, like For example, if you're on ABC Street and you spell it out STREET on Google, make sure that that's the exact same on your website, on Facebook, on all of these other listings, because that will increase your credibility both in the eyes of Google, so you'll rank higher, and in the eyes of your customers. So if your shop isn't optimized for local search, or if it's not showing up in the map pack, the odds are that when your potential customers are having these micro moments, they'll be directed to your competition. They won't be able to find you. So here are some simple steps on this slide that can show you how to show up in the map pack and be found. Again, claim your Google My Business listing. Someone may have already claimed it, but that doesn't mean that they own the listing, so you don't need to panic. They're basically, someone knew that you were a business and they told Google that your business exists. So what you need to do to verify it and gain access to that listing is to create a Google My Business account. You'll need a Gmail or a Google account to do this, and then you'll verify your business. The most common way is Google sending you a postcard to your business address with a verification code that you then put into your account, which will give you admin access to that listing. Something that's not listed on this slide is to upload photos. They don't have to be professional photos. You don't need to spend a lot of money hiring someone or get a really expensive camera. But most of us have a pretty high quality camera in our back pocket. So just pull out your phone and take some pictures of your staff, your showroom, your storefront, whatever it is. So this will give customers an idea of what to expect if and when they do business with you, instead of it just being the generic Google photo that they choose. So now we'll talk about why online reviews matter. Nobody knows exactly what or how much Google's algorithm takes into account when determining ranking, but we do know that online reviews play a huge part in that, especially ranking for local search, which is when someone searches something near me or something in a certain city, and it's based on these location markers. And you can see these stats are pretty compelling. The last one I want to focus on, it mentions that consumers won't engage with a business with less than a 3.3 star rating. But if they were to search best car dealerships near me, Google will automatically filter out any business with less than a 4-star rating. So even if the customer is willing to do business with you, they won't be able to find you because they've included the word best in their search and Google has filtered it out. And Google's algorithm, it factors in not just your review ranking, but it factors in the number of reviews you have and how often they're coming in. So the frequency and also the recency of those. And because it's not just the star rating, you should be making a concerted effort to collect and manage as many reviews as possible. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. But one thing you can do is asking every customer for a review and making it easy for them to get a review. So you have them coming in on a consistent basis and it's not just large quantities of reviews at one time. And now we'll talk about how to convert.
Yeah, so, excuse me, some of you may have heard that retail is dying, right? And I completely disagree. What I think is retail is just changing, it's becoming more efficient. And really it's one of those things you adapt or die, right? So, you know, I think it's a good place to note someone like Amazon who, you know, that's a big reason why people think retail is dying, is someone like an Amazon, where, you know, they tried to get their grocery shopping business off the ground, and they needed to buy Whole Foods for billions of dollars in order to do that, because they need brick and mortar, right? So really what we're seeing here is it's not dying. We actually just have to add we have to add the digital side to what we're doing. And if you can do that right, it's amazing what you can accomplish, right? So, you know, I guess during this phase here, customers start a conversation with your business, and you have an opportunity to really earn a new customer. So there's a lot of factors. Haley kind of mentioned some of them, like proximity, reviews, ease of connectivity. These things can make or break that opportunity to win that customer. So, you know, just because we've made it easy for them to chat in, you know, and have these obvious lines of communication, really, what are we going to do with them at that point, right? It doesn't mean you can count that as a customer just because they can get to you easily. It's very important to find you online. It might be more important to communicate and have a convenient experience with you once you get there. All right, so you really want to sell them on the experience and not just the product or service. All right, so speaking a little bit how to make it convenient, local search really helps you, like I was saying, get found, but you have to think about what comes next. So what really can you do to be chosen? So opening all the channels of communication will make it really easy for your customers to connect with you, and it really eliminates barriers in the customer journey, and it leads to more business for your dealership. So there's a stat, 88% of consumers who search for a type of local business on a mobile device attempt to connect with that business within 24 hours. Guys, that's a very powerful stat. Literally 24 hours. Who doesn't have a cell phone that they're searching things on, right? So that's where the experience comes in. It's very important that once they find you and communicate with you, you make it extremely easy for them. And in the same way that people really start their search on this channel of choice, they also want to connect on that channel, right? So again, like I would say most businesses still do this where it's like, they connect via chat and then they have to leave their email, or they have to, basically you guys are going to try and call them back, right? But really, if they're super interested buyers, what they really want to do is connect via text message or the avenue in which they reached out to you the first time. All right, so phone and email, they're still great, but obviously messaging is the preference. All right, so most of the time, people on your website are really looking to do business with your dealership. All right, that's where you want to capture their business. They're there for a reason. So make the path of conversion extremely clear to them, and really make it easy for the website visitor to convert by making your call to action, concise and simple and valuable.
Yeah, I remember at one point I was on a business's website and I really wanted to do business with them, and it took me 5 or 10 minutes to actually find the buttons to get more information or to give them my information. And I was really frustrated by the end that they lost my business actually because I couldn't figure out how to get more information. So this is a huge one, making the path of conversion clear to them, and giving them a reason to do business with you.
Yeah, and I would add to that, just to use Amazon again, right? When they came out with one-click purchasing, it's just a simple button and you get in and out, right? And that, the stats around that were pretty incredible. Sales, which were already great, continued to skyrocket. So yeah, to Haley's point, if you haven't yet, you'll want to figure out ways to make it extremely easy and add, like it's saying here, clear command words, right? Action words that get them to do something. So the question is, how to respond quickly to customer chats. I think it's important to note that we're shifting now to where people are operating just like they are with their personal contacts, right? It's all via messaging, text. I can text someone, and if they don't text back for a couple hours, it's still fine. Obviously, the sooner the better, right? But really, it's just more convenient, and that's why we do it. Specifically, one big channel is your website. So 95% of website visitors will actually not convert because they can't get the information they need, just like Haley was saying. And that's pretty alarming, right? So when you take into account the time and money that businesses are spending on optimizing their website, it's painful, really, right? The conversion needs to be higher. Now, luckily, there are methods and ways we can help. Now, a chat solution, specifically, a text-based chat solution on your website can really help plug, what we'd say is a leaky bucket. And that gets potential customers the information they need in the time that they need it. And by someone and if it's text message based and not, third party based, it's from someone at the dealership that knows exactly what they're doing, right? And so really, I just want to talk quickly about some tips for dealing with the extra communication. So I would recommend automate some responses, right? But also remember that people want to talk to a real person that can answer their questions. And this is where, it's helpful to put yourself in their shoes when looking at the experience. And that would probably be someone actually on the lot of your dealership. Again, like using a cable company, right? If you chat in and you're getting all these canned responses because they don't really know what they're doing, it becomes a frustrating experience, right? So take a hard look in the mirror and see if that's something that you could improve. And then make sure to address their questions when they come in. And then find a way to organize all these channels of communication so they're really easy to manage. So one central platform really is what you want. Podium in particular, we're an interaction management software. So, whether you choose Podium or a different software, one thing we really highly recommend is finding something to help manage all the conversations, because there could be, 10, 20, 30 different ways or channels where these are coming in. And I think it's really vital to have them come to one central platform. And really what that means for you, all these different channels, is just more leads. It's more opportunity for leads. It's just a matter of, will you let them fall through the cracks, or will you handle them efficiently and through the same channel? And lastly, I just say, arm your team with the knowledge and skills to help answer questions and set appointments via messaging. Again, adapt or die, right? We're in the stage where, maybe some dealerships might say, well, we don't have anyone that can answer these questions. We want to use a third-party chat. And to that, I'd say, really take a hard look at it and see if it's time to adapt and train up your employees so they can handle that and keep it in-house.
I do have a story about using, it was a live chat tool. It was obviously a third party. It was actually a robot. It was a robo automated message. And I upgraded my cell phone, so I needed to unlock my old one so that I could sell it online. And so I chatted in on my cell phone provider website, and I said, how do I unlock my phone? And they saw that keyword, unlock my phone, and they sent me this long message that said, thanks for your question, call this number. They gave me a lot of instructions, and so I called the number, and it took me through, it was probably a 5-minute process of press 9, press 7, whatever. I was pressing all these buttons, going to different menus, and I never actually ended up speaking to a person. It didn't work. So I chatted back in on the same chat box, and I said, that didn't work. Is there another way I can unlock my phone? And they sent me the exact same message that they had sent me before. So it took me a lot longer than it should have to figure out how to unlock my phone, because I couldn't get in contact with a real person who knew the answers to my question. So we highly recommend connecting the customers to people who can answer their questions. The next phase is purchase. So a customer buys a product or service from your business. But today's customer, they have options and they know it. So at any point in the journey leading up to this stage, customers can completely change their mind about your company and take their business elsewhere. So obviously we want to avoid that. So rather than give them any reason to leave you high and dry, give them a good reason to stay by giving them a one-of-a-kind experience with connecting them with the right people and answering their questions. This will create a really good experience for them where they'll want to stay with your business. And kind of how what Jordan was saying earlier, the online and offline worlds are colliding. So yeah, Amazon, it dominates the online world, but they still saw the need to buy Whole Foods because some people prefer brick and mortar locations. So we're not saying to throw away either online or offline. We're saying to bring them together to open all the channels that customers can come to your business. And customers aren't the only people who will benefit from messaging. One of the biggest benefits we've seen from our customers that use Podium is that they save an average of 4 to 5 hours a week just by shifting communication from phone calls to messaging. And time is money, so that is huge. And messaging is, like Jordan was saying earlier, it's asynchronous. So the two parties, they don't have to be communicating at the same time. Someone doesn't have to be waiting on hold while someone else finishes the other phone call. They can both be just responding on their own time frame. And businesses, This allows businesses to manage multiple conversations at once. And because messaging shows the conversation history, it makes it easy to jump in and out of conversations and not have to play catch up asking the customer to repeat their question. The history is already there, so they can see everything you've already talked about. So it doesn't even have to be the same sales rep per se. It could be somebody new. Other benefits include it streamlines communications, and it also helps boost your online reputation by increasing reviews, and we'll get to that toward the end of the presentation. And some of the best ways we've seen businesses use messaging are to schedule appointments, send pictures of cars on the lot, to provide updates, follow up with customers, to answer questions at every stage of the customer journey and at every stage of the sales funnel, and to identify problems or customer hesitations. So as with texting a friend or family member, if you're messaging with your customers, don't be afraid to personalize the messages. People are expecting and wanting to talk to a real person, so it's okay to show some personality and let them know that you're a real person. And we've seen some of our customers close leads via text. Here are some of the best practices that we've noticed. Once a conversation comes in, get a feel of how close that person is to buying. They may just be shopping around, but they may be really close to buying. So just try to get a feel for where they are, the status of their journey. And use this opportunity to build a relationship with the customer. Give them yet another reason to use your dealership so they don't just change their mind. And once you understand and address their needs and you know they're ready to buy, set up an appointment for a test drive within 10 minutes. And send them a reminder text before that appointment, and that'll increase the hold rate. Sometimes people just forget, but if you send them a text and just remind them, they're more likely to actually come to the appointment.
Yeah, so I think, on the back end of all this, as far as communication goes, something that's often overlooked, more of a forgotten thing is understanding your customer, getting feedback from your customer. So 50% of shoppers, as you can see the stat here, they think their feedback falls flat, really doesn't get acted upon. So it's important to ask in the moment for that feedback, right? So just know there's a difference though between feedback and reviews. Feedback's private, it's not going to go online, whereas reviews, obviously, it's going to go to Google, Facebook, or otherwise. So you really want to start with feedback, right? So if there's a problem to fix and you handle it right there on the spot, via messaging, and it's two-way communication, right? You're talking back and forth. If you can handle it then you don't have to worry about bad reviews, right? But more important than bad reviews and working out of fear that way is I just think proactively, there's no better way than in understanding your business than by getting feedback from the front lines, right? What's really happening out there, not what are your employees telling you, more importantly, what do your customers feel when they're in your dealership? So, really, like I was saying, ask for feedback right off the bat. Ask, direct questions, right? Was the customer satisfied with your business? And ask if you can do things better, right? This allows, like I was saying, it allows you to act immediately if there's a negative experience. And really, look, as good as your businesses might be, like any great business is going to have someone that's not satisfied. And it's really a matter of, I think that's when the loyalty comes back into play. Like you can still capture loyalty by responding when something goes wrong. And if you can fix a problem that went awry, then you're in really good shape. So retain customers, buy more often, okay? And they spend more, really, the newer customers. And we also know it's a heck of a lot easier and more cost effective to market to the customers we already have than it is to go find new customers. So, current customers, as you're probably all aware, look, they've learned the value of the product that you're selling. They've understood, the experience that they're to expect there at your dealerships. And again, it really comes back to, convenience. All right. So an interesting stat, it's actually 5 to 25 times more expensive to acquire a new customer. And again, we've already talked about that, but I think it's just really interesting to note that a lot of times we're looking for new business, but as if the market ever contracts, and I guess it's cyclical, right? But when it does, there you go, right? You go after the customers you've already got. So again, just not to get off track here, back to feedback, it's key into retaining customers and really reaping the benefits of those. So if it's a reap what you sow type of situation, right? If you put in the time to understand your customers and what they want, they will become more loyal to you, and they will, I'll tell you this from my own experience, I'm not kidding you, 30 to 40 dealerships in the city that I live in, and I go about 3 cities over, and I purchase from someone, and I've done so for, 6, 7, 8 years now. And it's all because I know what to expect, and I love the experience there. All right. So there's my loyalty. And frankly, there's no haggling on pricing. I know that I probably pay a little extra sometimes, and I don't care because I'm in and out in 30 minutes, and I know exactly what I'm going to get each time.
So after all that, the whole customer journey, the last phase is promotion. So the customer hopefully has a great experience and they want to share it with others. This is where you have an opportunity to use these repeat customers to gain new customers. And you can get more reviews by asking for reviews and making it easy to leave them, responding to reviews and using both feedback, like we talked about, and reviews to improve your customer service as a team. So as we hinted to earlier, your dealership can increase the quantity, quality, recency, and frequency, which is what Google looks at when determining ranking with reviews. It can increase all of those things by asking every customer for a review. And to increase the likelihood that they remember to leave the review, we recommend asking them before they leave the lot and sending the invitation via text before they've left. So they don't have to be leaving the review right in front of you because that can be uncomfortable. But people want to leave reviews, but most of the time, if it's not super easy, only those who've had a really bad experience are going to leave reviews. So let the silent majority of your customers, of your happy customers, leave reviews by making it really easy for them. And sending them the invitation via text with a link directly to the review site will eliminate a lot of the barriers they have to leaving reviews and make it really convenient for them. So we mentioned those 4 things: quantity, quality, frequency, and recency, but another aspect is engagement. So it's really important to engage with your reviews when you're managing your online reputation. And you should be responding to all of your reviews, and especially the negative ones. So with the negative ones, we recommend responding on the platform, thank them for their feedback, but take it offline and try and be prepared to remedy the problem, especially if you were the ones at fault. And if you turn the situation around, a lot of the time, people may even change their review from 1 star to however many stars if you do remedy that situation. And the first step, like we were saying, the first step to getting reviews is providing excellent customer service, but it also works in reverse. So look for patterns and reoccurring issues in your reviews and the feedback that you receive from your customers, and share them with your team. Look for those patterns and apply them so that you can give better customer service and in turn get better reviews and more specific feedback.
Yeah, so I mean, we've basically talked about everything we can think of, right? All the important or parts of navigating this customer journey. So we can just do a little quick recap here. But again, just I think the motto is, change is happening regardless. Let's adapt or die. That's probably why you're on the call. And obviously, you guys are intelligent. You know what you're doing. There's plenty of things you can do to figure this out. We'd love to be able to help you figure it out, though. So really, in closing here, just be where your customers are and boost your review rating. We'll kind of just run through a couple of these here. Connect with customers conveniently and efficiently, and use all channels of communication. Listen to your customers, ask for feedback, provide convenient CTAs to services, and then respond to your reviews. Make it really easy to do everything. Collaborate, communicate as a team, and then just manage the customer interactions through one dashboard, and that makes it a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, so that's all that we had. We'll now open it up to questions. Just a little side note, if we don't get to your question, or if you think of a question after this webinar, feel free to reach out to us on any of these ways. You can go to our website, podium.com/webinars. You can text or call us at this number, or you can send us an email at webinars@podium.com, and we'll make sure that gets to the right person to answer your question or get you the information.
Excellent job from both Jordan Reed and Haley Sontag of Podium with today's webinar, From First Search to Final Sale, Understanding Today's Car Buying Journey. And to augment what Haley just mentioned, we are recording today's webinar, so please keep watch of your inbox for a message containing a link to that recording that you can review the great information that Jordan and Haley have shared, as well as pass it around your dealership so the whole team can have the chance to review the great recommendations and information that's been shared. And if you have a question for Jordan and Haley today, please use the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll get to them as we have time allotted. And to get our segment started, Jordan and Haley, during the early segment of your presentation, you mentioned how much consumers nowadays are using the Google search to find near me businesses, especially using the word best in the keyword search. If you could you please revisit the trends that are associated with that practice and how dealerships can make sure that they are captured in that search, especially when the word best is used in the search box?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So the statistic that we used earlier was Google will filter out any business that's under 4-star rating if someone includes the word best in their search. So we recommend making sure you have above a 4-star rating, but also take into account the other things that Google looks for with reviews, and not only the star rating, but also how many reviews you have, how often you're getting them, and how recent you're getting them. Those are all things that Google will look at that will help you show up when someone searches for best dealership near me.
Very good, very good. Our special guest experts again for today's webinar are Haley Sontag, the marketing specialist with Podium, as well as Jordan Reed, who is the head of sales for auto at Podium for today's webinar, From First Search to Final Sale, Understanding Today's Car Buying Journey. And another segment of your presentation that you mentioned, if could revisit talking about how dealerships need to respond via the preferred channel that the initial inquiry arrives. If you could revisit how important that is to, if a text message comes in, to reply via that platform, and how store personnel can handle if they have a good problem and there's a lot of messages and inquiries coming in.
Yeah, I think I'll answer it on a couple fronts. Number one is, just like I was saying with the cable company, right? Like you want to communicate with someone who, first of all, knows what they're doing. In the example of a dealership, knows the inventory. If I'm asking a specific question on inventory, I don't want someone to say, hey, let me check and get back to you, and have all these, either automated responses or, clearly from a third party, right? So then on the other side, I think it's important that as far as adapting to your business, to the market, really, like there's, if you look back the last 10, 15 years, there's other positions that you've probably filled that you didn't have before, right? And that could be the digital marketing team, that could be whatever it is. What I'd recommend is that you think long and hard about, is it time to get someone full-time to respond to all this? Now, in saying that, I want to take a step back and say, from our experience with all the dealerships that use Podium, it really is doable without hiring someone. Now, there are some that do, and they want that to be their full-time job, replying to all the communications. But really, depending on how you set it up, it's very easy to say, to have your BDC department handle it, or There's even some dealerships that have their front desk people handle it and route messages to the right people at the right time. So there's a lot of different options, but I think the key is have something that gives you that flexibility.
Again, that's Jordan Reed, who is the head of sales for auto at Podium, along with Haley Sontag, who is the marketing specialist at Podium, for our special guests for today's webinar, From First Search to Final Sale, Understanding Today's Car Buying Journey. And Podium's contact information is there on the screen, various methods to reach the company if you have further questions. And Jordan and Haley, to wrap up our time today, we've just passed up the Memorial Day holiday, certainly a busy sale time, and the 4th of July will be here before we know it as well. Just what would you suggest are some initial steps that dealerships can take to improve their communication strategies, and how much time does it take to let those potential changes germinate to evaluate its effectiveness? Any closing thoughts to close this out today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, just opening all of the forms of communication, because phone and email are great methods of communication, and some people do prefer to communicate that way. But there is a large opportunity coming from people who prefer messaging. So we just recommend opening all of the channels that are possible to capture all of those leads. And in terms of measuring effectiveness and kind of the timetable of that, that would probably, it's one of those general answers, but it would depend on the dealership and kind of the length of time, because like you were saying, with the 4th of July, that's a really busy weekend. So if you start messaging the week before, you may think that messaging is, that it has brought in all of these leads and that you should stop doing phone and email, but that may just be because it's naturally a spike in the market at that time of year. So going through probably 12 months would be, a good way to determine that, to go along with the changing seasons and how the market changes within those.
And I would add this, I think you'll notice certain efficiencies and differences right off the bat when you make the changes,
Definitely.
right? So there's the long game, which you definitely want to see the seasons, right? And make sure that it's really legit, for a year, like Haley said. But I think, your gut feel, you've been in the business a long time, most of you, right? So you'll know very quickly, is this more efficient? Is this what the customer wants? Does it make our lives easier on our side? And for all the things that we're paying for, like leads, right? Are we getting, a lot more effective leads and leads that are more likely to buy, right? And those things you will notice quickly.
Definitely.
Very good way to round us out today. That's Jordan Reed and Haley Sontag of Podium with today's webinar, From First Search to Final Sale, Understanding Today's Car Buying Journey. Their contact information is there on the screen, and we thank you so very much for joining us for today's webinar. For all of us at Cherokee Media Group, I'm Nick Zulovich. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you again next time.
Thank you.